Hi, I'm Linda Deir, and
I'm Ray Holly. Back for another Thursday night.
for another Thursday night with you guys. We've got 9 more of these episodes for finishing up My Guided Journey, where you take the journey, okay?
Right.
So that's what we're talking about tonight. Just so, for any of you that don't know who I am the author of Guided. Her spirit guide angels were her best friends and life coaches. And this is available. This is my flagship book. And everything I do follows this book. This book is available on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and audiobook format. And I read the book myself. All right? So nothing like the person that lived it. And it's about my journey. It's a true life story about my journey with my spirit guide angels, where it started when they first appeared to me physically when I was 20 months old, when my mother almost killed me, and they came to my rescue. So that's really how this all begins. And from that day forward, I knew I was never alone and always guided. So I share this guidance with you. Only after receiving the guidance for 60 years did I tell my story in my book, Guided. So it's the first time I told my story, and Guided generated My Guided Journey. My Guided Journey is the companion journal to Guided. And I wrote this book. This is my 4th book. I've got 3 books on Amazon, and I've got this book, which is a free download on my website at lindadeir.com. And this is what we're going to be working on tonight. There's 3 parts to My Guided Journey. My Guided Journey teaches you how to do what I learned throughout my life. How to detect the guidance when it comes through. How to know the guidance came from guidance and not from me. And the most important part, how to take action on that guidance. Because all guidance has a shelf life. All right.
One of those books won an award, didn't it?
Which one, Ray?
This one, right here.
Yeah.
Won the 2017 International Body, Mind, Spirit Book Award. How about that?
Yeah, a winner.
You're a winner, hon.
So it's an important book, and from the thousands of fan mails and social media requests I got from fans about Guided, it caused this book to come out. Again, it's a free download on my website, lindadeir.com, right there on the homepage, My Guided Journey. And you want to get this, okay? So we're going to be talking about part 2. There's 3 parts to Guided. The first part 3 parts to My Guided Journey. The first part explains how it works, how this all works. And the second part is about, it's 18 pages of walking you back through your life and taking the journey, okay? So you can see what happened back there, causing your life to work out the way it has, okay? And that's going to change the way that your life has worked out. It's going to change. It doesn't matter what age you are. Once you identify what happened, part 2, page 1 through 18, we're on page 10 today, rebellion. So we did 9 before this, and when you go to my website, lindadeir.com, you want to go up to the blog and click on that. And once you get to the blog page on the right, under categories, you want to click on My Guided Journey. It's number 1, My Guided Journey. And when you click on that, before you start writing in any one of these pages, again, we're working on page 10 today, rebellion. You want to watch the video associated with this page we're working on, or any one that you're working on, before you start writing about what happened back there in your life when you were a little kid. Because the video we did is going to align you with the right mindset. So when you start to think about what that was and let it come back to you, let you remember it, that you are coming from the right mindset. In other words, when you see what happened back in your life, when you're working on part 2, of your journey. You want to be seeing it with clarity, not seeing it like you lived it, like the little victim you were, like the emotional energy that overwhelmed you, the torment, the fear, everything that you got drawn into in this world, okay? You want to, from the perspective of the world that you came from, you want to, from that knowingness, from those feelings, from that clear perspective, you want to identify what happened from that perspective as you see all the things that you played out, and write that into your journal, the journey part in part 2, so that when you're done and you've got it all written out and laid down on paper for the first time in your life, by the way, I'm sure of that. You look back at this, you're going to see exactly where the hang-ups began, how come they're there, what caused that to happen, and how to realize how you've immediately overcome it because you see right through it. So that's what this is all about. Last week we talked about, just to recap a little bit, last week we talked about rebellion. We talked about the crossroads. The crossroads happened at about 6, 7, 8 years old in your life. And it's a time where coming through childhood and just beginning to enter into the more where you're more in this world, okay? And a crossroads where you have to you felt like you had to let go of what they called your fantasy world. You know, they told you that you can't have that, okay? And some of you believed it so much that you pushed it all away, okay? In fact, you didn't let anyone in this world even know that you even ever believed in that, because that made you look like a child, right? You were trying to fit in at this point. So to the degree that you did this and you sold out, that's what happened. And at the expense of losing you, your real self, and this connection to your guides and to your higher self and to all that is that looks out for you and over you and agreed to guide you through your life, you turn your back on all that. That's a lot. That's when you made a decision. You didn't all do this, but most of you did. You just went all in, and this is all that there was this world. And you never looked back, okay? And when you made that decision, you got to page 10 in the journal, and you became rebellious. You were mad. You had just given up something so tremendous that everyone forgot ever existed. They called it your dream world, your fantasy world, your imaginary friends, okay, over here. And they told you to snap out of your dream world. And to you, it was like the worst thing that could happen, where you felt forced to give it all up, because no one here even knew what it was. You couldn't explain it. How could you have something you couldn't explain? You didn't know how to do that. So the one thing you knew how to do was get mad. You were rebellious, and you didn't even know why you were. If you were to go back and look back in your life, and it's on page 1, it starts with fear. It's when you're around 1.5, 2 years old, the terrible twos, right, Ray?
I remember those well.
The first time you were rebellious, you said, when they asked you to do something, you're 1.5, 2, you said no. Okay? You were learning how to be in your own identity. You were being you. It was rough around the edges. It wasn't very eloquent. But still, it was your digging your heels in and you holding on to who you are and what you're connected to, without knowing that that's how to describe what you were doing. All right. So you hit this rebellious time, 7, 8, 9, right in there, something like that. And you've been forced through all these decisions so far, major decisions, by the way, that you will carry with you throughout your life, unless you walk through something like this, and back up and rewind and see what really happened there so you can then make better decisions, which is the whole point to this. You got mad. You dug your heels in. You did that because you knew something was wrong with this. This world was asking too much of you. They were pushing you too far. You had just given up something so important to you they didn't even realize was important to you, that even existed. That was probably the biggest insult you'd feel for a long time to come. I mean, no one even recognized it. Nobody remembered it themselves. That was odd. Okay, so this part of you came out a second time. 2 years old, 1.5, 2 years old. It came out the first time. Now it's coming out again the second time. And this time it's because you need to grow up. You need to pay attention. You really need to snap out of it now. No more grace for you. You've got to do like everybody else. You've got to fit in. You've got to comply. All right. So that's where that's where we are today.
Right.
Yeah, and as we move through the journal, we're going to find out another time when you're going to rebel. And each time you rebel, 2 years old, 6, 7, 8 years old, then you hit the teenage years. Whoa, it gets real serious.
The hormones kick in there.
You've got your hormones. So when you're at this stage of rebellion, 6, 7, 8 years old, what's kicking in here, see, when you were 2 years old, it was your identity kicking in because you didn't forget who you were. At 6, 7, 8 years old, rebellion like this, now your ego is kicking in. Your ego is coming forward. It's after all, the ego does come from this world, does not come from the one you came from. And since you pushed that away, your ego rises up into bigger than life energy. Rebellion, okay? It's standing up for you. It's stepping in for you. It's looking out for you. It's your identity now. You see this? So every time this rebellion kicks in, it's a part of you that's trying to survive. All right? So rebellion at this age, while rebellion at 2 years old was recognizing your identity and holding strong to who you came in as, rebellion at this age, page 10 of part 2 of My Guided Journey, age 7, 8, 9, something in there. Now it's your ego that's coming to your rescue because you pushed all your guides away. They can't guide you because they don't exist. You convinced yourself that they never existed just to survive this world. Okay? So rebellion, the ego, is really beginning to play a heavy part in your life. That's where we are right now. And it's something that's going to affect the rest of your life.
Very well put. All right, so let's just get our definitions out of the way first. You explain that rebellion is resistance, right? It's resistance
Right.
to
the status quo,
to authority, to what else here? I made some notes. Resist authority, you resist control, kind of like that's what happened at 2 years old. There was somebody
You
who's
mean
trying to
being
control.
controlled.
Right, being controlled.
right,
And convention,
right,
being pushed into of conventional mode.
and fitting in and having to comply and be like everybody else. No wonder you rebelled. By the way, if you didn't rebel, you have a lot to write in here because that would have been a decision you made that would have prevented you from, kept you further from your real self. Okay, all right. At least the ones of us that did rebel, we were hanging on to something. We didn't even remember what it was, or we didn't know how to say it or describe it. But we knew something. We were pushing back against the system. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the opposite of rebelling would be conforming or giving in.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Okay. So you have to what they're really trying to do to you at that point when they want you to conform.
Now, who's they?
Society,
Okay.
teachers,
Kids, the
kids,
peer groups.
peer pressure.
Right.
They're interrupting your learning process, the one you had from the time you came here. Because
Your natural flow.
your natural learning process was you learned through curiosity.
Right. Right.
Your guides showed you things.
Through self-discovery.
Self-discovery, but your guides put things in front of you.
And you experimented with them.
You crawled over to them to check it out, and that's how you learned.
Or you were a little
And
older.
then you walked, and then you got mobile.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And then around 2, your parents started telling you, no, you can't do that. So that's the first time somebody was interrupting.
And get you to conform.
Right. And they have that, your response was throwing a tantrum. And they have a word for you at that age, the terrible twos.
Right.
And, he or she's just going through the terrible twos. No, she's asserting herself.
Right.
That's a good thing. Okay. So this conforming that they want you to do is basically to eliminate you asking questions. They're also trying to stop that. Because the first thing when somebody tries to get you to conform, you're going to do it like this. Why? Why do I have to do it? It's just because that's the way we do it.
Right, and that's usually how they explain it.
Because I'm the boss, that's why.
I'm the boss of you.
Right.
So that's usually how they explain it. Because, in defense of the parent or the teacher or whatever, they're short on time. The teacher probably has 40 kids in her classroom. Really? That's completely overdone. There's no way a teacher can do a good job. The parent, they both work. They have so many obligations, maybe other children, and life isn't easy. Maybe elderly parents, maybe sick parents, maybe all kinds of stuff going on, all right? And how much time do you really get? You're just a part of their life. You're not their whole life. So, it's that's part of it, right? You got in defense of society, okay? Mm-hmm. And then the kids at school that you go to school with, rebellion, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, they're going through the same thing. They're all getting pushed around, kind of, just do what I said. I don't have time for you. Just do what I said and just let's get through this. Because nobody has enough time, right?
Right. So this is a critical point in your life. Once you run into this desire that other people have for you to conform to whatever's going on in school and society.
Just so you're not a problem.
Just so you're not a problem, right. It forces you to go one way or another. It was like last week with the crossroads. It forces you to conform, or it forces you to hold your ground and think for yourself.
Think for yourself.
Think for yourself.
That is exactly
what a concept that is.
Now that is the deal right there. When you're thinking for yourself, that's when without remembering, you didn't throw it all away. You couldn't possibly think for yourself if you threw yourself away. If you pushed all that away. You may have told yourself you pushed it away, but you never really did. That's a clue that you are still an active part of your life. You didn't just sell out to this world. That's the clue, what Ray just said.
Thinking for yourself.
Thinking for yourself. That's the first clue. Now that's the cardinal sin in the classroom. Thinking for yourself. Shut up. We don't care what we got to get this through this course. And did you understand what I said? And did you remember it so you can repeat it and you can pass the test? That's all they care about. All right.
So
so thinking for yourself's not real popular. It's a risk you take.
Yeah, that's a real critical, life-changing decision.
But you know how you do it? Here's how I did it. I thought for myself all the time. And I learned how to do this before school, long before school. And I did it because I kept my thinking to myself. And at a very young age, I started writing about what it was, the things I thought about, and the answers that came through. Of course, that came through from my guidance, all right? And all those answers I got, I wrote it all in my journal, in my diary. okay, at the time. And I wrote all this stuff down. I'd be in a history class or an English class. I'd be sitting there, the back of the book, writing out what was coming to me. I was channeling this information. Of course I was, and I was connected to my guides and myself and everything. And I was writing about, what I was wondering about. Not what I had to remember or do next or any of that. That's when you know you're still connected, guys. Okay, that's what that means. Yep.
Here's something else that happens about that same time, age 7. They say that's the age of reason. Where children start to have this reasoning ability. So now they throw this at you. Well, you should know better. You're at the age of reason now. You can reason it out. You should know better.
Ignorance is no longer bliss.
Ignorance is no longer accepted.
I know.
Right. It might have been bliss for a while.
I know.
But, that's just the way it is. That's the other thing they throw you out. Age 7 or 8, people start.
So you're supposed to be a big girl or a big boy now. That's what that really translates into. So the more you are a big boy or a big girl in this world, translation is you have to comply now. Now there's no more excuses for you to look out the window and just daydream away your classroom session, or that you didn't that you're different, okay? That you're different in any way. So again, I'm going to go back to my solution on this. I talk about it in my book Guided and how I managed to get through this maze in one piece, all right? And keep that connection to my guides always. And I know I'm trying to come up with it, but I can hear you you're thinking out loud. I can't.
I'm thinking out loud. I know.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead, Ray.
I just, it's at the same time that they want to start telling you what to do. They think you need structure, right, in your life. They think you need discipline.
Well, now they're trying to form you.
Right.
And mold you.
And somebody has to be the boss. This is like the first time in your life, outside of your parents, who were the boss at home, that you were exposed to this concept of a boss. Something you're going to have the rest of your life.
So no wonder you took this position.
Yeah.
Right, demonstrate this in your own way. Right. That would be it. Yeah. Just if nothing else, it gave you a time out to gather yourself back up again before you got pushed through yet another door and another command and demand, all right, in this world. It gave you a pause, and it notified everybody that you were taking that pause. Now, it's not very attractive. Do that again, Ray. Yeah, it's not very attractive, but it gets the point across when you're 7, 8, 9 years old, all right? They can't miss it.
Here's another thing they do to you. If you went to certain types of schools, you wore a uniform.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody looked uniformly alike.
Compliant.
That's why it's called uniform.
Right.
I just thought of that.
Yeah, that's right.
This is kind of like a last-ditch effort for you to save your identity.
Yes.
I mean, it's...
That's why the ego jumps in so strongly.
Right.
This is ego. When this happens, anybody that does this or this, that's body language. They're holding on to their identity. They're not letting you grab onto that. They're not letting you push them around. It's pushing back. It's telling the other person to stop already. Okay? That's what it is.
This is a good time when your ego stepped in to save you.
It
tried to save you.
Right. Of course, you are the only one who can really save you. And when you have guidance, it's insurance. The struggle ends. This is all struggle. When you're doing this is fight. Okay? This is struggle. This is pushback. So ego doesn't make your life easier, but it did step in and it came to your rescue, and it took an action that would have been outside of you would never have done it from here. Never. But since you pushed this away and you had no one looking out for you, okay, your ego stepped in. Made sense to me.
Right?
Yes.
It becomes a battle like between the natural and the unnatural. It's natural for you the way you came here with your connection to your guides, and then now the unnatural thing is having to let that go and conform.
So what happens here, although the ego steps in, it grabs on to you so that you don't feel annihilated by everything and all the demands in this world pushing you around. You need to write down what that was. You need to, from this perspective, you need to write down what you remember and saw in yourself, because it's that very action when the ego stepped in and saved you that's causing you your problems today. See, your ego didn't know its place. It didn't know that, yeah, you needed its help. You know, at this time in your life, 7, 8, 9 years old. Thank you for showing up. Oh my gosh, these guys are they're picking on me. They're pushing me around. I don't like what they're telling me to do and how to think and what to believe and who to love. And I don't want that. All right? And it's your way of pushing back. But what happens is, as you get older, you grow up and the years go by and the years go by and you find yourself in your life where you are right now. Your ego took over. And you never realized the downside of it. You never realized how, it would continue to try to protect you, but it was ill-equipped and uninformed.
Right.
Because it's pulling from that early time in your life, and it's like repeating it and repeating it. And it used to work. But remember when it worked so well. That's what you hold on to. And that's an error in your life right now. That's where a lot of the decisions you make today and have made as an adult has produced a less than stellar life. That's why you do this work. That's why you go through part 2 of this journal, which is the journey part of the journal, to identify what those things were. Once you write them all out, all 18 pages, and watch all these videos I told you about first, to align yourself with what that was. You guys, you can't miss it. It's going to be right in your face for the first time.
But you got to write it down.
Yeah.
It's just like they say, if you have a goal and you don't write it down, you're not going to hit it.
You're right, right?
You got to write it down. You got to bring it into this world. Writing it down, going back through your life, helps you remember one thing, because most people can't remember a lot of the things when they're really young.
But remember it from a clear perspective.
Right.
Not from being a victim of it.
Right. Or most people go back and look at their past life, and if they were explaining it to someone, they would embellish it. They would make it sound a lot better than it was.
Oh yeah, I guarantee.
That's a natural thing.
That's called make-believe.
That's called the good old days. They want to tell you about the good old days.
All right, but make-believe. I call it making things up, making up things. Okay, pretending. It's all that. And we learn that really well as kids. We pretend a lot. But as you play out your life and you get into adulthood and well into your adult life, pretending really messes you up. You talk about messing you up. Oh my God. And people hold on to it, like Ray said, as some kind of endearment. Because if you were to look back, and when you do look back, you'll see it didn't happen like that at all. When you look at it from a clear perspective, from who you are in this life, okay, that you found yourself in this karmic madness, all right, on a merry-go-round, in this whole drama that goes on in this world, in your earthly classroom, all right? That's when you look at this and go, oh, now I see what really happened, and the way I chose to interpret this, to justify it in my life today, is useless to me, now that I see it on paper, like Ray said. Once you write it down, once you have it all laid down on all 18 pages, you guys, your life is going to change. Now, your life is going to change. Did you hear that? You've got to realize that something, before you even start this, you've got to know that something's missing. That's what you've got to first realize. When you realize that something is missing, you're ready for this. This is what will work. This is what will straighten it all out. And the whole point to doing this is so that you can get back to living the life you intended before you got here. That's the whole purpose in doing this. Not living a life out of default, all right? All these early decisions you made out of default, knee-jerk reactions, fear. You couldn't even think straight. You were ill-equipped. You were a kid. Could you make a good decision? That's the decisions you based your decisions on ever since. So come on, this is how it starts. This is how you go back and repair the damage, restore your life, and live the life you intended.
Well, that's what I found out when I went back through this. I found out that at a certain point in my life, when I was a little kid, that things happened to me where I made a decision that affected my decision making the rest of my life.
Right. Amazing.
It is amazing.
I know.
I was thinking else, the uniform thing. Everybody wants you to be uniform, dressed alike, look alike.
Ray went to the Catholic schools.
Oh, I did. Yeah.
So he knows this. Okay.
Other concepts that get introduced when you get your 6, 7, 8, 9 years old are the team concept. The team concept
right.
on the playground. Sports, yeah. Just the team on the playground at recess. You want to get picked. You want to participate. You want to get rewarded. See that? Now the rewards come in. The team did well. They got the gold medal. You did well on your test. You got a gold star, and the teacher would go up the front of the room and put it behind your name so everybody could see it.
Right.
You didn't want to get the silver ribbon or the blue ribbon or the red star. You wanted to get this concept of, hey,
competition.
Competition is one, which keeps people learning what they want to teach you.
And fighting against each other.
Right. And that's another concept that's carried right out into
Look at our world. Look at our world, and look at how common that is. In fact, I don't want to use this word, but I'm going to. It's normal.
Yeah.
Now, you don't in the real world, in the truth of all this, when you're done with this life, all right, what really matters in the end, that will result in a life of regret. Many regrets. The one I'm talking about, living your truth, the reason you came here, who it is you are from that, and with the guidance to guide you, to keep you, aligned with why you came here, and so you can bump into those opportunities, so you can experience what you came here to experience from you, okay? That's the reason you came here. You didn't come here to compete with someone else. You didn't come here for any of that. You came here to raise the bar for yourself, to become more than you were before you got here. That's the competition you're in, not against somebody else, because that's their life. You didn't come here to live their life. That's not why you're here. You came here to live your life and get your answers, okay? So that's what that's all about, right?
So this, where we are right now, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, that's the kind of like the grooming ground for the next phase of rebellion that you mentioned before, teenager.
Right, you're moving into it.
The hormones kick in. Now you are
fortified.
You're fortified. You have some strong opinions about whether you're going to conform to the clique crowd, to the sports crowd, to the egghead crowd, to the whatever crowd you think you fit in, or maybe you don't fit in.
Right.
So, I lost my question. Here we go. After high school.
Yeah, but we're moving past this. We don't want to do that.
Okay.
No,
right.
We got to save that. You guys have to see our videos coming up when we talk about what it leads to, like Ray's talking about. Ray met up with this, really realized himself when he was about 12 or 13 years old. And that's why he wants to move forward into that, because that was a great time in his life. And you'll find yourself, when you're working in the journal on part 2, in the journey part, that when you start writing in here and you start on page 1, fear as a baby, you may go, oh, I can't even start there. I can't remember anything. So what Ray did in his...
I got all the way to page 14, I think, didn't I?
Yeah, you went to page 14 or 15 or something, and started on that, And when you started, the search begins. You started 14, and he went from 14 to 18. Then he went back to 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, all the way back to 1. And then he could remember. So when you're working in this journal, it doesn't mean you're going to start from page 1. Most people have not started from page 1 when they start taking this journey, all right? So you start from the page that feels right. Watch the associated video for each one of these pages. Like I said before, on belindadeir.com's website, click on the blog, under the categories, go to my, number 1, My Guided Journey. And you're going to find the videos for each one of these pages and follow that video so you get in the right mindset and you purge it with the most truth you can possibly lay down on paper, all right? Because until you can be honest with yourself, you guys, and say it like it is, and just lay it on paper, no one's going to see it, but boy, do you need to write it in here. When you're done with it, you're just going to see it for yourself. I mean, you can come on Thursdays and talk with us on Facebook Live like we are tonight, and we're here every Thursday to help you along. But you're going to see it. You're going to see it. So these decisions that, as a rebellion young child, 7, 8, 9, right in there, you're pushing back against society because they're pushing too hard. Okay, it's a natural thing to do. You were a great kid. You were not a bad kid, and this was just part of what you felt you had to do to hang on to your identity. This ego rebellion, it has to do with your identity. It has to do with you hanging on to who you are against all odds, against everybody's opinion of that, okay? That you just go, no. You can tell me, I'll do this and I'll do all that, but do not push me any further. That is all you're going to get. Okay, so everyone has their limit, right? Everybody has a boundary, a healthy boundary.
Yep. You said before that if you fall into this conformity at this age and then into high school and then continue on through your life, you get to a certain point, I forget how you said, that you realize you made less than stellar decisions.
Right. Because they were all rooted in your in your early life.
Right.
And you didn't know it.
You continued the pattern.
Right.
Right. What happens when you get to that point? What does it feel like?
It feels like anger. You'll come out through this, and let's say rebellion just never took a rest. It just kept being rebellious, and you wouldn't give up the rebellion because, it was protecting you. Your ego kicked in, and it was like it was like the big bully, the great big, 300-pound gorilla jumping out in front of you, protecting you, going, roar, and protecting you. You're like, yeah, I like this. I'm going to just lay back on this deal, and I'm going to let that gorilla look out for me. Because it's working. It scares everybody. This bothers people when you do this, So it worked out pretty well. But then you got used to it, all right? And you didn't let it go, and you didn't give it up, and you got more rebellious. And you kept working. You overdosed on rebellion. And then you became, and that's where the anger comes from, Ray. So if somebody gets stuck in rebellion, they just as easily, rebellion's a strong energy. It's a strong emotion. They just as easily could have gotten stuck in the crossroads where they couldn't make a decision, okay? Where they just got stuck in, what is it called when you can't make a decision? You're not helping me with that.
State of indecision.
Okay.
If you don't make a decision, that's a decision.
Or you could have got stuck back on when you became cautious and you really pulled back, all right, and got quiet. You could have stayed quiet for the rest of your life. So none of these are any, or here's the one before that. We always showed you new things. You're still exploring everything in spite of the pressure coming from this world telling you to, asking you, who are you talking to? And, come out of your dream world and all this kind of stuff. So you could have stayed there and just kind of been like somebody would have said something like, you're kind of slow. But you weren't slow. You were just preoccupied with where you came from while you were getting by in this world. Everybody does it differently. So I want to say that rebellion is a strong energy. It's the first time your ego comes out and like the gorilla and jumps to your rescue. It's really comical. It's a lot of fun. All right. I don't know anybody who wouldn't have fun with rebellion. It's great.
Yeah, and this rebellion, like you say, carries on into your 30s, your 40s, your 50s. You follow through a career. You may not ever like getting told what to do or how to do it. And that just kind of follows you right through your job. But underneath, it's like seething. This rebellion is still bubbling up, even though you've conformed to a job.
Okay.
And the people who
that
come here
comply.
now, the people who come to, who read your books, are at a point, they're in their 40s or 50s, maybe their 60s, and they're looking for a chance to do it over, to do it right.
To get it right.
To get it right.
Right.
Because they know they can do it.
Right. Because the people who have read Guided and have been drawn to me, they know that something is missing in their life. That is what drew them to the book. And then that's what drew them to this project, to my guided journey. And we do have other things, by the way. We have, every week, we do an insight where I channel my guides, and Ray and I channel these guides together, and they come through with insights that help you navigate the uncertain times that you're living in. So there's all kinds of, and those are free too. You can sign up for free for those. Go to the top of the page and you'll see the place where you can sign up for that. And that's the guidance talking to you on a week-to-week basis about what's going on and how you manage to get through this without being a casualty of events. Because you're not here to be a casualty. You're here to live out the life that you intended in spite of the times that we live in. And really, you guys, once you lay this down, you discover what went on in your life. You unveil it. You uncover your unhidden knowledge. Once you see what that is, and you get your life back, you're going to start having fun in your life. You will have yourself back. You will have your connection to your guides back. You will be able to step into the flow of your life and live that life that you intended. But there will be consequences. I'll tell you that. You're going to have consequences. Some people won't like you anymore. Oh, well, you didn't come here to live their life. Your job may not work for you anymore. You may not be employable. Ray's point about not being wanting to be told what to do after years of working for somebody else. You know what that is? That's not that you're a bad person. That's guidance. Guidance telling you that you're not employable. I mean, you need to work for yourself. You need to do something that brings out the best in you to give to the world, to share with the world. All right.
This is rebellion showing up again.
Yeah.
When you get older.
Yeah.
I mean, I made a decision in 1992 when I got fired from my job, my corporate job, that looked like a good job from the outside.
Yeah.
That was rebellion coming back. That was just a reminder of why I shouldn't be there, why I should do something different. And that's when I went to work for myself.
Right.
I listened to
right.
Listen to my heart, listen to my guidance.
Right, you did, Ray. And it was a hard... I will tell you this. I wasn't there with Ray at the time, but he's explained it to me. And it took Ray, after he got fired from his job, how many months did it take you to step into it?
About 3 or 4.
3 or 4 what?
Months.
Okay, did you see how he hesitated to tell you the truth? He didn't tell you the truth. He went 3 or 4. Well, what's...
not 3 or 4 days or 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
It was 3 or 4 months.
Well, it could have been 3 or 4 years, Ray.
Could have been,
Or
yeah.
3 or 4 lifetimes. You shortened it up, and it's only 3 or 4 months. But to him, he's still a little, he thought he could have done better. He's still hard on himself. The point is anytime that you step into your truth and you're being who you are and you're going with the flow, you guys, it's not like the world that you live in. It's got a different motion. It's got a different feeling and different timing. It's not your timing. Ray, it took him longer than... He even had a young child. what's wrong with you? That's what he did to himself. He was flogging himself. And so it took him a little longer because it doesn't matter what the because was. But he had something that happened back in his early life that was holding him back. That, you know what, without knowing me, without knowing about Guided, without having the journal, without having this information, what he did is he did self-surgery on himself. He sliced his own arm open, so to speak, so he could see where the problem was. He could mend it. He could figure it out like you do through this. He could see the problem, and he could address it. Okay, what pushed him through it? The fact that he was a rather new father. He could not mess up. He had a kid to raise. He could not mess up. He had a house payment to make. He was committed to from his previous job. He had, all these commitments that he was tied to.
Plus, I had other job offers that I could have went to that were just like the one I got fired from.
That would have bailed you out of an immediate situation.
Right. Well, I had to move across the country or move back here or whatever.
Right.
And I could have continued that same rut.
Right. Did you know it was a rut then, Ray?
Well, I was starting to think that it was a rut.
It was feeling like that.
It was feeling, each job I got,
Okay.
I grew, but the rebellion, plus here's the other thing about rebellion. That was the rebellion in me saying, I'm not going to do that anymore.
Right.
But rebellion from the beginning is positioned as a bad thing.
I know.
Okay, when really it's the thing that can keep you connected and on track.
Absolutely. What happened in Ray's situation, you were 41.
Right.
Okay. When this happened, and when it was, he had enough jobs, he had worked for enough people, and had enough, really good positions and great jobs and great positions, respectable jobs. And when he turned 41, it was a huge, and Ray even felt it before they fired him. He knew that it was the end of the line. He could feel it.
I knew it like maybe 2 months.
Okay, but Ray, you knew it 2 months before.
Mm-hmm.
How long were you with that company, Ray? Come to it fast. Couple years. Okay, how long after you started with that company did you realize that something was not a fit?
Pretty much
from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much from the beginning.
Okay. So do you see how this doesn't just show up in one day? Like one day he got fired. No, he didn't. That is not how it ever happens in anybody's life. An abrupt change, a course correction, guidance coming through, telling you, game over, Ray. It's time for you to do it your way. Okay. That's what that was. Okay. So it showed up a couple years before, where he, a year and a half before, that he knew right here, the truth, the truth center, it never lies, it knows. He wasn't detached from who he was. He followed his intuition. You know that you've got yourself intact when you know you've got intuition you can rely on. He got fired, but it was not a surprise. In fact, it was a relief.
Right.
And in Ray's defense, he took the 2 or 3 months he needed to lick his wounds. Because when you're in a position where you're not happy and you're there and it doesn't feel right, and a year and a half goes by, you're tired. You're already tired. So whatever you're doing in your life that's pushing you through a door, it's not going to be like, okay, I'm going to go out on Monday, I'm going to get another job, I'm going to be okay, I'm going to do like I used to do, I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Like the world that you were brought up in and told how to abide in this world, it will never work like that. You need a little bit of extra time to lick your wounds, to heal what happened. Okay, you do. And then your head clears up. Then you start to feel again. You don't even feel anymore after a year and a half of being where you don't belong. You don't feel. You turn all your feelings off. And that's the only place you can get the truth, you guys. All right? So that rebellion, that part of you when you were 41, You rebelled against what all the job offers you got them immediately. You rebelled against all that, and you went out on your own and took a great big chance.
Right.
Because it felt right.
Yeah.
I know.
If I was going to suffer in a job, I was going to suffer working for myself because it was not fun working at the other job.
Right. Okay. So it
Or
felt
another one like it.
right. So it felt right. So anytime it feels right, feels is right here. It's your truth center. That is guidance coming straight to you, putting you on your path. But your path will not be like the structured path you've been shown in this world. It's going to be a free-flowing path. It's not a struggle, is what I'm trying to say. Ray gave himself a 3 or 4 month break. Did he struggle? He felt a little guilty, but that comes from this world. That's because he added to it. It didn't need to be there. He made all that up. Okay, that didn't need to happen. But he followed his guidance. He remembered who he was. He trusted himself. He listened to his truth center, and he let that take him there. Was it totally a smooth ride?
Oh,
Tell
no,
the
it
truth?
started out rough.
Right. It did. Sometimes it does. It makes you question your guidance. It makes you doubt yourself, okay? And stuff like that. So the whole point to this is you just because you follow your guidance, just because I was guided, doesn't mean I didn't come here and have to learn things, you guys. I came here. I didn't come here just to live a smooth life. It doesn't happen like that. I came here to learn things just like you, just exactly like you. So you're the star of the show. You're the one who's great here. You're the one that can step into this and do this, but you need a little bit of room in there so you don't interrupt the natural flow and misinterpret this for this. Because they're not the same. They're not the same energy. They're not the same feeling, okay?
Right. And at that point in my life when I decided I was going to work for myself, I mean, that was a big decision. I mean, I had a lot of obligations.
You
like
did.
You said, I had a young child.
A huge house.
A huge house.
I know. 3 cars.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was over his head.
You came into this life, like you mentioned, learning through self-realization.
Right.
Okay? But you get away from that when you conform to
That's right.
the norm.
That's right.
Conform to the norm.
So blending in the way you learned, higher learning is being self-realized.
Right.
All right. And this learning, which is really, predictable and how to describe it? It's fixed. It's dense.
It's structured.
It's
structured. Boring.
It is. It's not creative. It's not. There's nothing in it that allows you to come out.
That's right.
Okay, go ahead.
So if learning is self-realized, that's why you're here.
Higher learning.
Higher learning. That you have to start. I wrote a few notes down. You have to think for yourself. That's the first thing.
That's
yourself.
That's the first clue.
Right.
That you are still here.
You can still think for yourself.
Yeah. That means yourself exists.
Right. I don't know who I was talking to, but he was real interesting to talk to. You have to watch out for other people's agendas. You have to be able to recognize them. They're going to tell you what you want to hear, but you have to watch out for
what
them trying to push you and make you conform to what they want.
That's called manipulation.
Right. Master manipulators. Follow your curiosity.
Right.
I didn't know if I could, be a success with my own business.
Right.
I was curious about it.
Well, that has to do with trusting yourself, too.
Right. Trust yourself.
Yeah,
Follow your curiosity.
You had enough background, Ray. You were 41. You had worked since you were 12 years old or before.
9.
And you had enough, you were a seasoned veteran. You had enough going for you where you knew finally you could trust that.
Right. So I guess I was saying,
it's really, timing.
You have to have gratitude for who you are, not who you aren't.
Right.
You have to take an inventory of your gifts and talents that you brought with you when you came here. They just didn't appear all of a sudden.
Right. Which, by the way, I'm going to stop you there. By the way, that's what Ray did. I asked him about, how did you come to the conclusion that this was the right thing for you to do at 41 years old, to go out on your own for the first time ever, with all this pressure on you? Okay. What brought you, what gave you the information? And then you told me about this and this.
Right.
Tell them what you did.
You just take
Inventory.
Take an inventory, a big piece of paper, and draw a line right down the middle. And on the left-hand side, you put down all the things that you love to do. All right? And then on the other side, you write down all the things that you're good at that you do. And then you kind of look for where's the matches.
So then wherever they align, what you love and what you're good at, and you draw a line to those, whatever they are, you're going to know, you're going to be way ahead of the game. It has to do with the same thing as journaling, and tracking what's going on in your life. Critical to do. Mm-hmm. What do we have, Ray?
We have a question from Olivia from Australia.
Hi, Olivia.
Can I ask a question about can I help my 6-year-old son who's about to begin school next week? I wanted to homeschool him originally, but he's functioning similar to an ADHD child, and his energy is big and intense. I'm personally exhausted after our last 6 years together, and I need a break. And I also need quiet time to connect with my guides. Any advice, please?
Now, her child is how old?
6.
Okay. Okay. First of all, Olivia, there's no accident that you had this child, okay? And came into your life exactly when this child did. Is it a boy? Okay.
6-year-old boy, high energy.
High energy, okay. And to consume your life like this has, all right? Is he in school? Did she say?
Starts school next week.
Oh, thank God. That's going to help.
She's looking forward to her arrest.
Yeah. So,
this is kind of a gift.
What are you talking about?
The fact that she has an option. She was going to homeschool him, but she decided that he's overactive.
Right.
And
you're not qualified to homeschool your son, and you recognize that.
Right.
That's the first thing that's really good about what's going on with you. It's not in your cards, in your karma, to homeschool your child. That was that might, what would we call that? That's something like, it's wishful thinking. It's the best thing you could imagine. It's like people that are, a woman that's going to have a baby and she goes, oh no, I'm going to have natural childbirth, right? Until the pain starts. And then give me those drugs, It's that kind of thing. So with your son, when reality comes in, when reality strikes, you realize where you're qualified and where you're not. So you're right there ready for him to go to school. What's going to happen is you're going to really get a hit about what it feels like to have yourself back and have this time back where you can make this connection again. Something that you've missed. So, you see, Olivia, it's something that we've all had. Have or have had. And it's because it's what we came in with. You came in with all the gifts and talents you would need. You came in with guidance, all the guidance you would need to walk you through this life. And this that's going on in your life is guidance, letting you know this is not your job. It might have been, a fantasy. Oh, wouldn't it be wonderful to have my child and homeschool my child? That I could really make you do a much better job than the schools ever could. Well, so what? You are, that is not your job. That was not in the cards. That is not what guidance is sending you. And it's obvious and evident, and you're following it, and you're going to know what this is in the next week or two. It's going to take a little bit longer than a week. He just starts in a week. So,
and also, look on the positive side for your son. he's going to be exposed to new opportunities. He's going to be exposed to new environments, to new stimulation, from the group like that. He wouldn't have got that at home.
That's right. So maybe,
socialization.
Right. So maybe that was a flawed thinking on your part to think that you could be his everything. That's what Ray's basically saying. So that's what the guidance is telling you, because you need to get back to yourself. Not totally, because you have a son. He's not at school all 24/7, but you need to get back to yourself. There's something else going on in your life that is not to be missed.
Right.
And just be with your guidance. Just sit with your guidance and let it show itself. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Give you some time to talk with your guides. Be some quiet time, alone time.
Just be with them. Olivia, I think she got this right. My Guided Journey.
I think she did.
I think you got the My Guided Journey. You can start working with this. If you
haven't, just download it at Linda's website, right on the front page.
Yeah, lindadeir.com. And I'm pretty sure you probably read or listened to Guided, my book. You definitely want to do this before you do this, because once you understand how it works, this is how I lived it, my life. Once you understand how this works, and I didn't have a rosy life, okay? I had a lot of obstacles to get through, and I had a very dysfunctional childhood. But life went great after I got out of there, because I had already, through my guides and through this higher learning that I received from what my guides showed me, and how I became self-realized throughout my life. Once I was 16 and I was out on my own, I was already, on automatic with all this ability, and my life just worked. I mean, everybody else did struggle. I didn't struggle at all. They'd get mad at me and say, "God, Linda, you make it look so easy. I hate you," And I didn't think about what I looked like to somebody. I just followed my guidance like I always had. Followed my urge, my bliss, my heart. Okay, that's what you want to discover. So if you haven't gotten,
she's listened to all your
good,
books.
very good. Then you're ready for this. And like I said earlier in the video here, Olivia, is on my website, lindadeir.com. Go up to the blog and click on it, and go to the blog page. And when you get there, on the right side underneath categories, click on 1, My Guided Journey. And you're going to find the associated video that goes with each one of the 18 pages in part 2, the journey part of My Guided Journey. And you need to watch those before you start writing on each page. You are so ready to do this, okay? And you can work through this while your child is at school. Thank goodness for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can start working on this right away because you have the tools and the support. And Olivia, we're here for you on Thursdays, every Thursday, to help walk you through your journey. You have any questions, you bring them with you, and we'll help you.
Or email them to us.
Or email them. Yeah.
Ahead of time.
Yeah.
And what are we going to talk about next week?
Next week is right after Rebellion.
I love Rebellion.
You have a passion.
Hellion rhymes with rebellion.
Yeah. It's separation. All right. I don't have my glasses. Can I use yours maybe?
They're pretty
Oh,
stylish.
here they are. I got 'em. Okay. Separation. And it's page 11. And it's we're on page 11 out of 18 pages in part 2. You were told what to do and how to think. You were expected to act a certain way and believe the same things everybody else did. You did what it took to fit in, be liked and accepted, forgetting who you were and why you are here. You vaguely remembered our time together. It makes you want to cry. As soon as you hear that, You feel that loss, that longing, that love, that unconditional love that you brought with you, the guides, okay? And then under it, it says, you felt really sad and alone at this point in your life, and we're going to talk about that. And once again, Olivia, I don't know how long you've been with us tonight, but part 2, page 1 through 18, has to do with going back and identifying what happened in your life from a clear perspective, not from being in it, and writing it down in your journal, in the journey part of it. And when we're all done with that, we're going to all sit back and look at it and go, wow. And over even the weeks and weeks and weeks and months to come, you can still come back and say, you know what, I did the journal and I took the journey on, you know, I did this one part. And when I did all the different pages and I put it all together, here's what I came up with. And I was, you know, then we could talk about it and we could explore it together. And we'll talk with your guides about it and let them tell you what they see and how they perceive what you see at this point in your life, because you know what? Your guides have always been with you. They were with you when you went through all this confusion, all right? But going through part 2 of this journey in the journal is going to clear all that up. And you're going to get yourself back together again, and you're going to be in one piece instead of split off. And what's that called? Separation. Being so separate, okay? You won't feel that separation. But next week we're going to talk about how that separation began. All right.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So
we'll see everybody next week, same time.
Same place.
Same place.
And bring your questions. Bring any question you have. And we'll talk about that, you guys.
All right.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.